Hello and welcome to my introduction video. My name is Melinda Jody Marie Arcadia. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Just to give a quick trigger warning about my introduction video, I talk a lot about death because most of my family is deceased. So just to give a quick trigger warning in case anyone watching this video needs to take a second. So as I had said, my full name is Melinda Jody Marie Arcadia. My parents picked my first name because they found it in a baby book, and they wanted to have names for twin girls that kind of went together but didn't rhyme. And they really liked the meaning behind Melinda, and then I would have had a twin sister named Melissa, and so I think it was like honeybee and flower. And so my mom just really loved those two names, so that's how I got my first name. And my mom got to decide what my first name was because my dad had called dibs on my older sister. My middle name, Marie, my second middle name, is because my mom had converted from Protestant to Catholicism, and so she chose Marie as a confirmation name, and so she ended up giving my sister, myself, and my twin sister the middle names Marie, and I ended up changing my middle and my last name in 2020. And so when my dad had passed away in 2020, I wanted a middle name to kind of give tribute to him because I wasn't going to have the same last name. And so his middle name was Joseph, and so I ended up picking Jody, and then I added it on. So that's how I got Melinda Jody Marie. And then Arcadia is a really old family name. And when we were doing genealogy, I had found like a really great ancestor, and his name was Maximime Arcadius. And I was like, that's the last name I want. So I just changed it. Where is your hometown? My hometown is in Worcester, Massachusetts. I no longer live there. I live in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Do you have any siblings? If so, what are their birth orders? I have my eldest sister, Cassie. She's 32. I have an adopted brother, Vincent. He is 30. And then I would have had an older twin sister. Her name is Melissa. She's unfortunately, she passed away. She was a stillborn. When you were growing up, did you have other family members living in the house? So we had a lot of other people living in our house, but only one of them was ever family. So we had a finished basement that had 2 bedrooms, and my parents were very religious. They believed that if you could give, you should give. And so just growing up, we always just had so many people who, if they were facing housing insecurity, they lived with us. The earliest person was when I was like 5 or 6. My dad had a best friend named Steve who lived with us for a little bit. I don't remember how much. I just remembered he had a really cool pet snake. And then my mom had a friend who lived with us for a few weeks because she was fleeing domestic violence. And then as we got older, I had my best friend. Well, I had my cousin live with us for a little bit because he had run away, and I had found him through a mutual friend. And so he stayed with us until he turned 18, and then he joined the military. So that was about maybe like 6 months. And then when I was 15, my best friend in school was having a really hard time with his family, and that is who my older brother Vincent is. So he actually came to live with us, and he stayed with us for years. And we also had another mutual friend who around that time, her name was Ray, and she also stayed with us for a few weeks until she was able to like go and find another place. And my sister also had 2 people live with us. She actually had someone who also had a baby. So we actually got to, she was very nice. And so we actually got to live there, and I got to have got to play with the cute little baby for a little bit. And then when I had moved back to Massachusetts, because I was over 18, I lived overseas, and then I had lived in a different part of the country. And then I came back in 2020 when my dad was diagnosed with brain cancer. Even during that and the COVID pandemic, someone who I had known for a long time, who I hadn't heard from in years, ended up reaching out to me. because she was fleeing domestic violence. And I asked my parents, I was like, hey, I'm living here again. I'm taking care of dad full time. Is it okay if this girl comes and stays with us? And so she did. And she lived with us for about like 3 months into the pandemic. And she stayed with us like probably, yeah, for a good long while. So always had people that lived with us, but none of them were like biological family. They were always just people that like needed a place to stay. What roles does religion or spirituality play in your life? It used to play a really big role. I was an altar server from the 4th grade until the 11th grade, and then I taught Sunday school until I was like 24. I was a missionary when I was 18. I lived in China for a little bit, teaching English, just volunteering. And then I was a deacon after I had converted, because I converted from Catholic to Protestant because the Catholic Church has some feelings about LGBTQ people. And yeah, I was very religious up until I want to say 2020. Because I lost both my parents really quickly, one right after another. My dad had brain cancer, and then he passed away 3 months after his diagnosis. And then not even 6 months later, my mom was diagnosed with metastatic gallbladder cancer. And so I lost her last February. And so it'll be almost a year. And so yeah, religion played a really big part in my life growing up. It doesn't really anymore. I've taken a real big step back from religion, just because I think it's okay to take a break from relationships that don't give to you and only take. And religion has really just kind of taken from me for the past few years. And so I've just kind of put it on the back burner, and I think that that's okay. Any special heirlooms or memorabilia that have been passed down? Yeah, I have everything that was my parents. But I'm actually wearing my favorite for the video. So this was one of my mom's favorite rings. It was, I want to say it was a ring before her engagement ring. And then this was my dad's favorite ring to wear. And then this was one of my mom's favorite rings that my dad had given her. I have, jewelry. That was the one thing that I wanted when my parents passed away, is I wanted all their jewelry. And my sister was totally fine with that because she doesn't wear jewelry. So I have jewelry that's over like 200 years old. That's from my great-grandmother, from my grandmother. Unfortunately, I couldn't pinpoint all of them because all those stories are lost when people pass away. But they are my favorite things because my parents were very like bedazzled people. They're very dapper. They always dressed up. They always wore a lot of jewelry. My parents actually met because they were professional dancers. And yeah, these are my favorite. They remind me of them. I wear something of my mother's every single day. And yeah, I think it's just, and it was like a family tradition that my mom would borrow jewelry from my grandmother. And then when I got old enough, my mom and I would then trade jewelry. And so, yeah, now I have all of her jewelry. So that's kind of my favorite family heirloom that I have. What is one thing you've learned from your mom and then one thing you've learned from your dad? The thing that I've learned from my dad was to be very that's the ice maker is to be very independent. My dad was he was a pretty tough cookie, and he's a very independent guy. He was totally blind almost my entire life, and he was also the he was a stay-at-home dad for a really long time. He took care of us. He made sure that we were awake, dressed, made our lunches, kind of like that custodial parent role. And he never let anything get in his way. And so, yeah, and he was also just he was a tough cookie, and he was always able to do that. And that's definitely influenced me because I've traveled a lot independently. I almost always travel independently. And yeah, my dad really prepped me for that. And the thing that I learned the most about my mom was she was just so caring. She loved everything, everyone. She was a nurse for 40 years. She really loved animals. She really loved cats. I actually have 4 cats because I inherited 3 of them for her, and that's the little guy behind me. And so just to kind of be compassionate, to want to take care of one another is, I think, the biggest thing that I learned from both of my parents and like growing up in the household that we grew up in. And yeah, that's kind of it. Feel free to add any additional information. I'm gonna add a few things. I know this video is super long, but I feel like that's like a really sad introduction, and I'm not a really sad person. So I have 4 cats and a dog. That's one of them. His name is Oliver. He's cute as button. Spouses, I have an amazing soon-to-be wife. Her name is Emma. And she's just the love of my life. Amazing. Just an amazing woman. And when I'm not in school, I am a barber. I've been a barber for like 9 years, right out of high school, because I'm 28. And then when I'm not in school, I like to do poetry. I published a book in like 2021. And I've traveled all over the country doing different poetry slams. So I think that that's kind of the coolest thing about me. So yeah, I just really want to throw in some fun facts because I'm a pretty happy person. I've just, sometimes you just go through a lot. So I really look forward to working and collaborating with everyone this semester. And I hope that we have a good semester. Everyone take care. Have a good day.